And let's return now to the flow-on effects to Australia, the impact on fuel prices. We're seeing it, and fuel shortages in Australia. Bring in Liberal frontbencher Melissa McIntosh. The Minister for Energy today urging people not to panic buy, not to fill up jerry cans and sell them on Facebook Marketplace. He says it's un-Australian. Do you agree?
Come on, Chris. What's un-Australian is not putting our people first. This has gone on for 2 weeks now, and at first Chris Bowen said there's nothing to see here, and then we put pressure on the government during question time last week. It took a whole week pretty much for him then to declare that Australia is in a national crisis. Now, once again, he's blaming Australian people for turning up to the petrol station with their jerry cans. I can tell you, here in Western Sydney, we need our cars to get around. Hundreds of thousands of people drive to work. We are very tradie central in Western Sydney. People are reliant on petrol for their jobs and for their livelihoods, and people are suffering right now. I think Chris needs to get to work. He's been too slow to act. He's only just saying now that we're releasing some of our reserve fuel supplies, but what Australian people need is for their petrol prices to come down from those high twos back to where they were 10 days ago. And for diesel, again, we're paying over $1 more now today than we were a week ago.
Well, you would imagine, would be sensitive to that too, given he's a Western Sydney MP like yourself, Melissa.
Door.
But he also, so he'd be familiar with it, I would imagine. But in terms of the impact of the global shock, are you expecting that the ACCC will take action here? They've hauled in various suppliers. Is it your read, your sense that people, have been suffering price gouging?
Well, that could potentially be happening, and let's see what happens with ACCC. Again, a little slow off the mark there. But we've got to remember, this is the government. We went through COVID. We should have had warning signs then. And learnings from that time around our reliance on international supply chains, including our oil and fuel. And what we're landing on now, even though the government's saying they're investing in our supply chains and including our food security, which is the ultimate outcome, we are seeing what I'm concerned about is a form of disaster in the near future. People are worried. They're not getting any confidence or reassurance from this government with the mixed messaging of everything, she'll be right, a week ago, to we're in a crisis, and now telling people to stop panicking. That just doesn't make sense. Chris Bowen needs to focus on his job in bringing petrol prices back down so Australians can afford to live, because if we've got a rate rise, which could happen today, we could have 1.3 million Australians, upwards of that, under mortgage stress.
To be fair, he's had another roundtable with those various industry groups in agriculture. They've released 760 million litres of fuel via their strategic fuel reserve. They've lowered the standards, the fuel quality standards as well, to ensure greater supplies as well. They are taking measures on a few different fronts. Isn't it also important to say and remind people, look, the supplies are coming in, there's no need to panic? Isn't that a good message of reassurance?
But the supplies have been coming in for a week or so now, Kieran, and the government hasn't done enough to bring prices down. And we've got another round table today. Why are we having more meetings when action needs to be taken? I walked into the local supermarket today, and the gentleman behind the counter who works really hard to support his family says, well, what now? We've got dirty fuel that we have to use. Why is this happening in this country? Why don't we have our own sovereign capabilities to prevent this from happening? And you know who will be suffering most? Australian families. And this is going to be across the board. It isn't just about this one issue. Australian families have been hit multiple times. A tradie said to me just this week when Angus Taylor was in my electorate, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's blow after blow for local small businesses run by Australian families. It's blow after blow for Australian families who can barely put food on the table for their kids. And yet, again, today we've got higher petrol prices, higher fuel prices, and potentially higher mortgages. When is it going to give up?
Looks like it.
What's left to give is what I'm saying for these Australian families. They're looking for leadership from their government and their Prime Minister, and they're not getting it.
It certainly looks like there will be another hit this afternoon with the RBA. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it. Now, the Tasmanian government's accused the Labor opposition of being a mouthpiece for the federal